Most people think their refrigerator protects food. What if it's slowly poisoning you instead? After 60, your body becomes more vulnerable to toxins hiding in everyday storage habits. 5 common foods sitting in your fridge right now could be triggering inflammation, damaging brain cells, and accelerating disease. The worst part? You've been told this keeps them fresh. Let me be direct. Cold temperatures don't preserve everything. For certain foods, refrigeration triggers chemical reactions that create compounds linked to cancer, dementia, and chronic inflammation. Food scientists have documented this. Neurologists warn about it. Yet most people over 60 continue making the same storage mistakes every single day without realizing the damage. Here's what nobody explains clearly. When specific foods get too cold, their molecular structure changes. Starches convert to sugars, enzymes shut down, antioxidants oxidize. What was once nutritious becomes harmful. Your body, especially after decades of life, can't process these altered compounds the way it used to. They accumulate, they inflame, they damage cells you can't afford to lose. I'm going to walk you through 5 foods that become dangerous when refrigerated. Not theoretical dangers. Real, measurable harm that shows up in blood work, brain scans, and long-term health outcomes. Each one is probably in your kitchen right now. By the time we're done, you'll understand exactly why these foods need different storage and how to protect yourself starting today. Let's start with potatoes. Almost everyone stores potatoes in the refrigerator. It seems logical. Cold preserves, right? Wrong. When potatoes sit below 40 degrees for more than a few days, something dangerous happens inside them. The starch molecules begin converting to simple sugars. This isn't a minor change. It's a complete transformation of the potato's chemistry. Now, you might think, so what if there's extra sugar? Here's the problem. When you cook those sugar-heavy potatoes at high temperatures, whether you're roasting, frying, or baking, those sugars combine with naturally occurring amino acids. The result is acrylamide, a compound the World Health Organization has classified as a probable human carcinogen. Acrylamide doesn't announce itself. You can't taste it. You can't smell it. It forms silently every time you cook a refrigerated potato. Studies tracking older adults have found that regular acrylamide exposure correlates with increased rates of cognitive decline. The compound damages nerve cells. It crosses the blood-brain barrier. It accumulates in tissues over months and years. For someone managing diabetes or insulin resistance, refrigerated potatoes create an additional problem. The sugar conversion doesn't just affect cooking, it changes how your body processes the potato entirely. Blood sugar spikes become more severe. Insulin response gets thrown off. What should be a stable carbohydrate becomes a metabolic challenge. Potatoes need cool storage, not cold. A dark pantry works perfectly, a basement shelf, even a paper bag in a cabinet away from light. The ideal temperature sits around 50 to 60 degrees. At this range, potatoes stay firm and their starch remains stable. No harmful sugar conversion, no acrylamide formation during cooking. Watch for sprouting or green patches. Both signal the presence of solanine, a toxic compound that causes digestive distress, and in high amounts can trigger neurological symptoms. The refrigerator actually accelerates this process by stressing the potato. Room temperature storage in darkness prevents it entirely. Buy smaller quantities. Check them weekly. Remove any that show signs of deterioration. One simple shift, moving your potatoes from the fridge to a dark cabinet, cuts your exposure to a known carcinogen. Your brain stays healthier. Your blood sugar remains more stable. Your digestive system functions better. It's not complicated. It's just different from what you've always done. Now let's talk about onions, because this one surprises most people. Onions seem indestructible. They have thick skins. They last forever in the pantry. So why would refrigeration matter? Because onions are hygroscopic. They actively absorb moisture from their environment. In the damp, enclosed space of a refrigerator, this becomes a serious problem. As onions pull in moisture, their texture changes. The layers soften. The cells begin breaking down. This breakdown releases sulfur compounds that do more than alter flavor. Recent research has connected these compounds to increased inflammation in the digestive tract. For older adults already dealing with sensitive digestion, This inflammation can trigger a cascade of problems throughout the body. But there's something else happening that's even more concerning. When onions deteriorate in cold, moist conditions, they become breeding grounds for mold and bacteria. The same protective layers that normally keep onions safe trap moisture inside once refrigeration begins. Mold spores develop invisibly between the layers. Harmful microorganisms multiply. One compromised onion can contaminate everything around it through the gases it releases. Cold temperatures also destroy quercetin, one of the most powerful antioxidants found in onions. This compound specifically protects brain cells from oxidative stress. It supports memory function. It reduces inflammation in neural tissue. When you refrigerate an onion, quercetin levels plummet as the cell walls break down. What should be protecting your brain gets oxidized and rendered useless. The solution is straightforward. Onions thrive in cool, dry places with air circulation. A mesh bag hung in the pantry, a paper sack in the cupboard. Even a woven basket on the counter works perfectly. The key is airflow. Onions need to breathe. When air circulates freely around them, moisture doesn't accumulate. The protective layers stay intact. The onion remains stable for weeks, sometimes months. Keep them away from direct sunlight. Heat accelerates sprouting and decay. And here's something most people don't know. Never store onions near potatoes. Potatoes emit ethylene gas as they age. That gas directly triggers onion deterioration. The two foods actually sabotage each other when stored together. What about cut onions? You've sliced half for dinner and want to save the rest. Here's the safest approach. Wrap the cut surface tightly in a dry paper towel, not plastic wrap. The paper absorbs any moisture that might escape. Then place it in a sealed glass container. Glass doesn't trap odors or chemicals the way plastic does. Store it in the refrigerator, but only for 1 or 2 days maximum. Any longer and bacterial growth becomes a real concern. Pay attention to smell. Onions that have been refrigerated too long develop a sharp, unpleasant odor even before visible spoilage appears. That smell isn't just off-putting. It's your warning system. The onion's chemical balance has shifted. Sulfur compounds are breaking down abnormally. What you're smelling is decay at the molecular level. Your brain depends on antioxidants to fight inflammation and cellular damage. Your immune system relies on them to stay strong. Fresh onions deliver these compounds in abundance. Refrigerated onions strip them away. The choice between storing them properly and storing them conveniently directly impacts your long-term health. Now think about tomatoes. Almost every household makes this mistake. The moment you place a tomato in the refrigerator, you trigger irreversible damage. Enzymes that create flavor and aroma immediately begin shutting down. The cold doesn't preserve them. It destroys them. But flavor loss is just the surface problem. Cold temperatures demolish lycopene, one of the most powerful antioxidants known to science. Lycopene specifically protects against heart disease, certain cancers, and age-related cognitive decline. When tomato cells are damaged by cold, their membranes rupture. Water leaks out. The flesh turns mealy and dull. The vibrant red compound that should be protecting your brain oxidizes and becomes useless. Research in food science has measured this precisely. Storing tomatoes below 50 degrees for more than 2 days cuts their antioxidant content in half. For older adults, this matters enormously. You're not just losing flavor, you're losing nutrients that defend your body from oxidative stress. The same stress directly linked to dementia and cancer development. There's another risk most people never consider. Refrigerators generate condensation, especially in produce drawers. Tomatoes have delicate skin that absorbs moisture readily. When they pull in that dampness, they create perfect conditions for bacterial growth. Listeria thrives in these exact circumstances. For someone with a compromised immune system, even small amounts of this bacteria can trigger serious infections. The solution is simple, but requires breaking a deeply ingrained habit. Store tomatoes at room temperature. Place them stem side up on your counter or in a paper bag away from direct sunlight. If they're ripening too quickly, move them to a cooler spot. Not cold, just cooler. A shaded area of the kitchen, a spot farther from the stove. This allows them to stay flavorful while retaining every nutrient. Once you cut a tomato, consume it within a day. If you must store the remainder, place it in a sealed glass container. But understand that every hour it sits, even properly stored, it loses more of its beneficial compounds. Fresh is always better. Think about what tomatoes actually are: living foods that continue to breathe and ripen after harvest. Food scientists use this term specifically. Living foods. They're not inert objects. They're still metabolically active. Refrigeration doesn't pause that activity, it damages it. The enzymes that should be working to develop flavor and nutrients instead break down chaotically. When you let a tomato ripen naturally on your counter, you're working with its biology. You're allowing it to complete its natural process. The result isn't just better taste, it's maximum nutritional value. Every vitamin, every mineral, every protective compound reaches its full potential. That's what your body needs. Not a cold, mealy, nutrient-depleted version of what a tomato should be. The flavor you notice disappearing from refrigerated tomatoes isn't just about enjoyment. It's a marker of nutrient loss. The same compounds that create taste also protect your memory, your skin, your immune function. When taste fades, so does health benefit. Your brain and body will respond to this difference. You might not notice it meal by meal, but over months and years, the accumulated effect of eating fresh, properly stored produce versus cold, damaged produce shows up in your energy levels, your mental clarity, your overall vitality. Human beings have been eating tomatoes for centuries without refrigeration. We've only had widespread refrigeration for about 70 years. Nature designed these foods to be stored at moderate temperatures. Honoring that design protects both the food and you. Number 4. Garlic. Most people praise garlic for boosting immunity and protecting the heart, but refrigerating it transforms this medicinal food into something potentially harmful. Cold, moist air triggers sprouting. That green core you sometimes see isn't just cosmetic. It signals the formation of sulfur compounds that irritate your digestive system and create harmful byproducts when cooked. These compounds contribute to oxidative stress, the same cellular damage linked to cancer and cognitive decline. What makes garlic powerful is allicin. This compound gives garlic its antibacterial, antiviral, and anti-cancer properties. Refrigeration deactivates the enzymes that produce allicin. Your garlic might look fresh, but nutritionally, it's been gutted. Notice how refrigerated garlic tastes sharper or bitter. That's not intensity, that's breakdown. The chemical structure is degrading, and consuming it regularly in this state promotes chronic inflammation throughout your body. Then there's the mold problem. Garlic cloves absorb moisture readily in cold environments. This dampness creates perfect conditions for Clostridium botulinum, the bacteria responsible for botulism. Even if the garlic appears fine, invisible spores can form. Once consumed, they release neurotoxins that attack your nervous system. For older adults with compromised immunity, this risk multiplies significantly. So where should garlic live? A hanging basket, an open bowl on your counter, any cool, dry spot with good airflow, never sealed containers or plastic bags that trap moisture. Garlic needs to breathe. Stored properly. Whole bulbs last weeks, sometimes months, keeping both flavor and healing properties intact. If you've peeled or chopped garlic, store it in a sealed glass jar with a thin layer of olive oil in the refrigerator, but only for a few days maximum. The oil prevents air exposure, but bacterial growth remains a concern beyond that window. Think of garlic as living medicine. It thrives at room temperature, not in cold storage. A simple bowl of garlic bulbs on your counter quietly defends against inflammation, supports brain health, protects your heart. Number 5. Bread. This final food surprises most people because nearly every household refrigerates leftover bread. But this habit destroys both quality and safety in ways you can't see. Refrigerating bread accelerates starch retrogradation. The starch molecules recrystallize, turning bread dry, hard, and nutrient-depleted. But the real danger lies deeper. This process creates ideal conditions for mold and mycotoxins, substances directly linked to cancer, liver damage, and neurological decline. When bread absorbs moisture in a cold environment, it sweats inside its packaging. That moisture feeds microscopic fungi like Aspergillus and Penicillium species. These molds produce mycotoxins invisible to your eyes, which research has connected to brain inflammation and memory loss in older adults. Many people think cutting away visible mold makes bread safe again. It doesn't. Mycotoxins spread far beyond what you can see. Every slice potentially carries trace amounts of these harmful compounds that accumulate in your body over time. Refrigeration also weakens the natural fiber that supports digestion and blood sugar control. The hardened starch molecules force your digestive system to work harder, often causing bloating, fatigue, and unstable glucose levels. For anyone managing diabetes or heart conditions, this quietly worsens inflammation and oxidative stress. The solution? Store bread at room temperature in a breathable bag. Paper or linen, never plastic, that traps humidity. If you buy more than you'll eat within a few days, freeze it in airtight portions. Freezing preserves freshness without damaging the bread's structure. Toast or warm the slices gently when you're ready to eat. Pay attention to the type of bread you choose too. Highly processed white bread contains preservatives that extend shelf life but irritate your gut and spike blood sugar rapidly. Whole grain or sourdough varieties offer natural fiber, probiotics, and nutrients that support both heart and brain health. Bread has sustained humans for thousands of years without refrigeration. Storing it naturally honors how it was meant to be enjoyed. Fresh, nourishing, life-giving. Small habits compound over time. The foods you eat daily either heal or harm. How you store your bread can tip that balance toward health or disease. Now you understand. 5 common foods: potatoes, onions, tomatoes, garlic, bread. All damaged by refrigeration in ways most people never recognize until years of accumulated harm manifest as illness. Cancer and dementia don't appear overnight. They develop through years of repeated small choices: how you cook, eat, and store your food. Every decision either strengthens or weakens you. The remarkable truth: you still control this. It's never too late to adjust your habits and protect yourself. By keeping these foods at room temperature, you preserve their nutrients, their natural defenses, the balance nature designed. Your meals will taste better. Your digestion will improve. Your energy will stabilize. Most importantly, you'll shield your brain and cells from the chemical stress improper storage creates. These aren't complicated interventions. They're simple, practical adjustments anyone can make. For older adults, these small changes create remarkable differences in overall health. You've spent decades caring for others. Now care for yourself in the simplest, smartest ways possible. Take a walk through your kitchen right now. Open your refrigerator. Look at what's inside. How many of these 5 foods are sitting on those cold shelves? Potatoes turning their starch to sugar, onions absorbing moisture and breeding bacteria, tomatoes losing their lycopene with every passing hour, garlic sprouting and forming toxins, bread sweating and growing invisible mold. Each one represents a choice you made thinking you were protecting your health. But now you know better. These aren't theories or possibilities. This is documented science showing how refrigeration transforms protective foods into sources of inflammation, cellular damage, and disease progression. Your body after 60 doesn't have the resilience it once did. The toxins that might have passed through harmlessly decades ago now accumulate. They inflame. They damage cells you can't regenerate. Every meal becomes either medicine or poison depending on how you stored those ingredients. The power sits entirely in your hands. Move your potatoes to a dark cabinet. Hang your onions in a mesh bag. Let your tomatoes ripen on the counter. Keep your garlic breathing in an open bowl. Store your bread in paper at room temperature or freeze what you won't eat soon. These adjustments require no medical degree, no expensive equipment, no complicated protocols. Just awareness and the willingness to break habits you've held for years. Your brain depends on the nutrients these foods provide when stored properly. Your immune system relies on their antioxidants staying intact. Your cells need the protection these foods offer when their chemistry remains undamaged. Start today, right now, before you prepare your next meal. The version of yourself 5 years from now, 10 years from now, will feel the difference in ways you can't yet imagine. Sharper thinking, steadier energy, less inflammation, stronger immunity. That future depends entirely on what you choose to do with this information. Will these 5 foods continue sitting in your refrigerator, slowly transforming into sources of harm? Or will you honor their nature and store them the way thousands of years of human wisdom knew they belonged? The choice has always been yours. Now you simply have the knowledge to make it correctly.